Hi everybody, Vanquished Angel here, and I am back from mythicist or mythcon Milwaukee, mythinformed, mythinformation conference, whatever you want to call it, the Pats Theater in Milwaukee. I went with a friend and we drove down there and we stayed down there for 2 nights, and it was an awesome experience. We had a few events. There was a bomb threat while I was down there, and also don't normally find stuff like this hilarious, but there was also the farter. Okay, so that's what we called him for the rest of the night. That will get explained later. But my goal for going down there was, okay, I didn't learn about it until I saw shoeonhead's ad for it, which was an amazing ad. And then I thought, well, I'm not going to go yet. And then, then I saw Blaire White was going, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. And Armoured Skeptic is going to be there. That's great. And then Jaclyn Glenn announced that she was going, and then I'm like, done. I'm going. That's it. So, and I wanted to get the tickets where you get the meet and greet with her, and that's what I wanted to do. But the problem is that I had to make sure that I had off from my other job. And I'm a massage therapist, but I'm also a direct support for special needs adults. And so I had to make sure that I had off from the direct support job, even though it was my normal weekend off anyway. So I waited to buy the tickets, and then when I checked the next morning after I found out that I had off from work, the tickets for the meet and greet were sold out. So I really wanted to. I was really excited to do that. I was planning everything that I was going to talk about, and then I didn't get to do it. But that said, I did have a wonderful time, and I will go over some things. So I'm going to go over kind of the events that happened. So I'm going to share with you the itinerary here. And there were others there too. Other YouTubers were there as well that didn't speak, like Hunter Avalone, and that. So, and I'm not a big fan of Hunter Avalone, and I didn't even know he was there actually. But if I would have seen him, I would have spoke to him, but I didn't see him. I only figured out from somebody else's video that he was there. So here's the itinerary. I'm going to try to get that in there so you can see it. You can pause it if you'd like to read over what the subjects are and stuff and see what time they were. Now the itinerary was thrown off with the bomb threat, but okay, so there it is. So like the first one was how has the political climate divided the atheist community? And this one had Armoured Skeptic and Jaclyn Glenn versus Vidim Nudquist, aka the Creationist Cat, and David Smalley. And then it was moderated. So the first one, pretty much Jaclyn Glenn and Armoured Skeptic owned it. Jaclyn Glenn, put in quite a bit of good information. And Armoured Skeptic, he's always very eloquent when he speaks, and he's very well-spoken and an intelligent man. And the debate was pretty peaceful. It went well. It was very educational, very informative, and I definitely loved it. And my friend wasn't sure what this was going to be. He thought it was just going to be, because he's not really familiar with a lot of YouTubers or anything, he thought this was just going to be a bunch of people getting up and preaching on a podium. He didn't realize it was going to be debate style, and that made it interesting for him to attend, so that was kind of cool. I didn't get the meet and greet with Jaclyn Glenn, but at one point I went out to the lobby, and I'll cover that then when I went out there. But I actually did run into Jaclyn Glenn, and she's so amazing. I took pictures with her, and I asked her to sign my shirt, and she did. But because she didn't have a table, she had to sign my back, so she was writing on my back, and we were joking about being back in high school a little bit, and she's just a wonderful person. She was so nice. And she's very pretty and very eloquent in person, and thank you for taking those pictures. And I said to her that I work with special needs young adults, and I have this one girl who is a big fan of yours. And I said it just made her day when you responded to her comment on one of your live videos. It just made her so happy. And Jaclyn Glenn asked what her username was, and I said her username. And And she said, while she was doing something for someone else, she looked at me and she said, "You be sure to tell that girl hi." Like, and that's just going to make her day. Like, and I can't wait to be able to tell her that and show her the pictures that I took with Jaclyn Glenn. And it's just going to make her day. So awesome. Thank you, Jaclyn Glenn. You're amazing. And I'm one of your biggest fans. Then the next thing we had on the itinerary was Have Women Achieved Gender Equality in the U.S., featuring Karen Garst and Karen Strohan, I think is how it's pronounced. And this was moderated by Melissa Chen. And these two Karens, I didn't know either one of them. But their conference was amazing. Like, it was a feminist and kind of an anti-feminist. And the moderator, because they're both named Karen, gave them little things to wear on their head. One was a devil, and she was MacGyvering it, and the other one was an angel. So she gave the angel one to the feminist and the devil horns to the other one. The cool part about this is those two were able to agree and reach a point. And it wasn't all down with the patriarchy. It was about equality and the genders being equal. So when it came up, male genital mutilation, which is done today in America, and no male pretty much gets the choice ever, versus female genital mutilation, both of them were against male genital mutilation. And when information was presented and one got corrected, they dealt with it. They didn't argue, they didn't become childish. They just said, hey, this is actually the way it is. And it was a really good, very civil meeting. And, men's issues were brought up, because that's a big thing this day. Men's issues aren't dealt with. And there are men's issues. And there's a lot of them, especially this day and age, kind of like women going for alimony that don't need alimony. Like back in the 50s when women didn't work, alimony was needed. She worked at home, essentially, and took care of the kids. But today, women work. Alimony isn't really a thing that should be. They can provide for themselves. And so, unless the woman stays at home all the time, alimony is not needed. And also, the custody thing. It was brought up that women, oftentimes, when custody battles come, and it's huge, very huge, like this isn't a small number, it's happening kind of in a majority, where they falsely accuse the man of sexual assault. This causes him visitation and rights to his children. And so that was brought up, that it needs to be dealt with, and a way found to deal with that, and things like that. So it was very, very equal and awesome. I applaud both of those women. I never heard of them before, but they were very cool, and it was cool of them to come and talk about this, and they were very civil. And at one point where the one had more conservative views, the feminist did, she went and switched out the devil horns with the other Karen, and it was kind of funny. Saw the one at the after party. She likes to drink. The other one, I didn't see her after that, so she must not have been there, or she was there briefly. Then, what impact does social justice activism have on the African American community? Now, the YouTuber, the black guy that was there, his YouTube name is Some Black Guy, I believe. He was actually pretty cool in there, but this wasn't a very eventful conversation, and it really wasn't something that I myself was too much into. I get the point, and I see it. The point was all these activists activating for black people and black rights, or Asian people, and they commonly referred to black people, but really there's other races other than white and black. And so I didn't really stick around. I mean, I was there for a lot of it, but a lot of it was just not anything really much. And so, but the angle of Some Black Guy was the negative effects that it has on the black community. For instance, he talked about how he was there, he achieved this through hard work, and he did it himself. And despite the things that are in his way, through hard work, this is achievable. And you can still achieve it. Stop using race as an excuse for those that didn't achieve it. And I guess, which I very much paraphrase there, but I see that point. I mean, I guess I'm not always in that boat, hit or miss, but he is right to that extent, and I'll give that to him. Um, and then the other one was our social commentary outlets displacing the influence of mainstream media. I didn't stay there for this one. I really wasn't into that one. So we went to go get something to eat, and we were supposed to be back at 4. So when we came back at about 3:30, 3:40, they wouldn't let us in the building. And we were pissed because we paid for these tickets. And now I'm going to miss the 4 o'clock one because they told us not to come back until after the dinner break. I was not happy. And they were letting people out, but they weren't letting people in. And they didn't give us any information on what was going on. We didn't know there was a bomb threat. We just showed up back there, and they're not letting us in, and they won't tell us why. That's pretty much it. And other people were getting pretty angry too. So we walked off to the side, and my friend goes, "Oh, look at this guy. He's probably in the know." And it was this security guard or whatever, staff person at the Pabst Theater, smoking a cigarette. And he said there was a security breach. So that, you know what? Good enough. We were able to accept that. The topics are somewhat controversial. I get it. So that made sense. And I said something about that. There's cops all around, so something happened. Like maybe one of the speakers got attacked or something. But I was still upset because we were going to miss roaming. And although I don't always side with roaming, I don't see her points, I disagree with her a lot, I do think roaming is highly intelligent, very eloquent, and well thought out. And so I wanted to see her talk. So, and then someone else took a video, so we left, and we didn't come back until about after the dinner break. And I'm kind of wishing we stayed now because there were other famous YouTubers there like Hunter Avalon that I would have seen, but I didn't see him. And I would have asked him as well to sign my shirt. But even though I very much vehemently disagree with Hunter Avalon on a lot of things in the way he presents them, I think he does it for money. That's that. But I still would have asked for it anyway. Moving on from there. So when we did come back, I wasn't sure what was going to happen, and when we came in, they decided to continue. So we did get to see roaming, and that was amazing. I loved it. I don't really know who some of these people are. Like, I knew who roaming was, and I think Clay was the doctor that was on her side. I'm not sure, but I don't know his name really. They did introduce him. I don't remember. But then there was this red-haired girl and this guy in a sarong. And whatever, I mean, kudos. The problem is that they couldn't argue their point. Like, roaming is extremely eloquent, well thought out, very well spoken, highly intelligent. The doctor that was with her on her side, highly intelligent, well thought out, very well spoken, well researched, awesome. The other team, not so much. Like, their heart was in the right place, but they weren't able to argue their point legitimately. And this was a problem because typically I'm in their camp. However, it was embarrassing to have them argue on that side. Let's just put it that way. And they might be very intelligent people, and they might be very cool, but they shouldn't have been up there arguing the point because they made the whole thing look stupid. Like, the one brought up the infant mortality rates among African Americans is higher. Great. First off, they threw the black community, the black thing out there like a million times, which I get it. They are, at least we're a pretty oppressed race. They have race issues to deal with, but they're not the only race. They're not this magic card for you to throw out there. And so, like, they threw out this infant mortality rate thing, and she was saying because they're so under pressure from racism and stressed and all this, it causes issues with their babies. That's not a legitimate argument. That's not a way to argue it. That's so lazy, you know? Like, come on, off it. You know, there's a much better way to argue it. You could argue that systemic racism and things like that has affected their communities, the drugs that Americans government sold in their neighborhoods caused a lot of them to be addicted, which contributes to fatherless children. Also, a mother on drugs is probably going to abort the baby, you know, either get an abortion or she's going to miscarry, and contributing to the infant mortality rates. Also, the poverty-stricken, bad neighborhoods, jobs not easily found, things like that would have been legitimate arguments as to why infant mortality rates are higher. Less access to good quality food, things like that. But instead she didn't take that route, and so really she shouldn't have been arguing that point. It was such a lazy argument on both of their parts, and Millennial just owned it. Like, she was intelligent, like the one time, and funny, the one time the woman made, "We need people of color up here," and Roaming was like, you know, like, she was just wonderful, and her answers were just amazing, and I wish I could repeat them back to you, but you're going to have to watch it to see. It was a good showing. Millennial was awesome. I'm not usually in her camp, but she was amazing, and I didn't see her out in the lobby at all, and I was really disappointed. I went to the after bar, and I specifically went to search for her, and I found her. And she signed my shirt, and I get to tell you, she was amazing. Like, very eloquent, extremely polite, soft-spoken. She had an instrument with her. And she was just really cool, and I got to tell her that. And she's like, "I wasn't sure about my answers because I was so tired from the trip here." And I'm like, "No, you were brilliant." So I got to tell her she was brilliant. I didn't get to tell her I don't always agree with her, but I did get to tell her, and I'm kind of a critic, but I still have to have respect for the amazing intelligence that that woman possesses. And so there's that. And then I did spend some time out in the lobby. I was actually looking for Jaclyn Glenn. This was before the bomb threat, but I didn't get to see her. But I did see Armoured Skeptic, so who also signed my shirt. And I also then did get to see Shoeonhead, who also signed my shirt. And we took pictures, and wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And I got to tell Shoeonhead that she's just hilarious, and I love watching her videos. But I didn't get to tell Armoured Skeptic that I think he's highly intelligent, very eloquent in his words, and wonderfully spoken. And I didn't get to say that to him. But even in the first debate, you can see that he was amazing, just very awesome. And while I was out there, I did see Blaire White, but I didn't stop her. She seemed to be taken up the first time. So after roamings, then we had how can we navigate the issues impacting the transgender community today? And we went right into that. And that's where Blaire White was up there. Now, this wasn't exactly a debate, but it is what it is. So there was three transgender, well, actually four transgendered, but one was the moderator. So the transgendered moderator, and then three other transgendered people up there, and they were taking shots and having a good old time and really getting along, and their debate went really well, and they stated their opinions clearly. They were very, very good, and like they just really, they didn't debate each other much, but they may have had differences in opinions or on how they saw things there. And so it was a very well done. They got along, they hugged each other, they even started to tear up at how well they were getting along. It was great. So that didn't turn into a bitch fest at all. And then there was the last one, and I didn't stick around for the last one here. We left, and that's when, out in the lobby, I caught Miss Blaire White. I had a good time with her. She seemed a little bit annoyed, but she was rushed, and so I think she was there, and I stopped her. So she's probably trying to get to where she was going, but she was very polite, very awesome to me. I got to tell her, you know, thank you, even though I don't always agree with her opinions. I got to tell her thank you for your contribution and for the stuff you do. And she said, "You're welcome." Like, it was just, and then I let her go. I didn't want to take too much of her time. I tried not to waste too much of any of theirs time. And it was awesome. So we didn't stay for the last one. When we went to the after party, someone told us that it was just a shit show anyway, that they started arguing, there was a lot of yelling, and but we didn't stay there for that. because really there was nobody I knew there, and so we didn't stay there for it. Went to the after party. Jaclyn Glenn was at the after party. Blaire White was at the after party. Saw a cool thing with Blaire White. So she was there, and she was talking to this disabled girl, and this disabled girl in a wheelchair or scooter, and Blaire White knelt down to talk to her, and when she did, somebody made a very crude and sexual comment to her, like, yeah, you're good at being on your knees or something, and just kind of crude and rude. And my friend said that to me, and I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure she deals with that all the time, you know. So we saw Jaclyn Glenn mingling, and she was pretty cool. And I wanted to interact more, but I felt like, you know, my anxiety too gets the best of me, and I thought, you know, I don't want to be annoying to them. There's probably a lot of annoying people to them, and she was just an awesome, awesome person. But I didn't, and now I kind of wish I did. But whatever, I didn't want to be irritating. Shoeonhead was there too, so was Armoured Skeptic. They're very cool people, and I had a good time. The one Karen, the feminist Karen, really, really liked to drink. So I think she got a little tankard before then. She was at the bar having a good time. The feminist Karen ignored me when I spoke to her. I didn't really like that too much, but maybe she just didn't hear me or something. She's quite old. The woman came out of retirement to do this. So there was that. Blaire White spent a lot of time talking to this disabled girl, and that was really cool that she did that. She, you know, I mean, well, spending a lot of time with anybody, it doesn't matter, but it's nice to see that, you know, they take time to acknowledge their fan base, their people, and stuff like that, you know? And so it was pretty cool. Alright, well, oh, and then the farter. I forgot about the farter. So we're in the middle of Millennials debate, roaming Millennial, and this one got up, and this person behind us, like I was there with my friend who's kind of bald, and he got up, and all of a sudden he just let those freaking loud ass fart, just like, and I turn around, there's this, okay, here's my friend, here's the ass, okay, like it's just ass right there, and he's looked at my friend, and I'm like, and then all of a sudden he continues to just fart like in this theater, like this loud ass fart. I looked at my friend and like, oh my god, you had to feel the wind from that. It's a good thing I don't have any hair. It would have been blow dry. You know, like, and it wasn't quite that funny at the time. Like that's freaking rude, you know. But when we went to and of course everybody had to hear that thunderous fart. So like maybe that was the bomb threat. So we went out to the after bar, and every time we turned around, this farter was there. Like, we would go into a room, and we turn around, and my friend would turn around, and there's the farter. And, like, so when we first got there, like, we saw him in the room, and he's, like, stuffing his face full of pizza and drinking beer, and, like, he's just going to town, and he's not a small guy. He was pretty hefty. And so we're like, oh my god, he's geared up for the next round, you know, like, run. And, like, every time we would go into another room, we turn around, and there would be this farter. So he was just in every room, and it just, to the point of ridiculousness, like, we started to feel like we were being followed, like he's brewing up the next round of assault there. And like the one time we were standing next to Jaclyn Glenn, and we just flipped right around, and there he was. Like, we're like, oh god, run, you know. And we didn't stay at the after party very long, but I think my friend was getting freaked out by the farter, like the raging farter. Like, and I think he was purposely looking for my friend. I honestly, that's how many times we ran into him. And so it became this kind of game, like, oh god, farter, run the other direction, you know. So yeah, that ended up to be quite funny. Alright, thanks for watching. You should watch the video for mythicist. I'll probably watch the ones we weren't there for. Alright, have a good day, and thank you. Bye.